Section 12, metals and how to use them in home repair. Working with metals, measuring, marking files, file chisel, retempering, tools, cutting metal, drilling metal tips, dies, riveting, other ways to attach metal, soldering sheet metal, strap metal, tube and bar metal. Alright, metal working terms: alloy, annealing, gradual heating and cooling of metal in order to reduce brittleness. Skip that. I've done metallurgy before. We'll move on to measuring and marking. Lay tools in their use, laying out primary use of lines and circles and arc centers to surface metals for the guide with the metal project. The surface is often coated with a marking solution with the lines lay out so men be seen more clearly. Steel rules available to various lengths used with the liner measuring testing plane surfaces for making straight lines. These guidelines are drawn scratched with a scriber, sometimes referred to as metal worker's pencil. Steel's instruments have sharp points, one end of the frequent point of bend of the right angle to the other with a bent point used to mark the lines out of reach of the straight end. When lines are drawn at the angle of 90 degrees square, the use of testing should be used with a combination set. Must use the layout with a measured angle same as the protractor. Find the center of the circle. These lines also scribed accurately with the combination level the angle has been located. Spring type driver kind of the most of the U with a two-legged instrument with a hardened points of U with a measuring marking off the short spaces. Small marking circle with the parts of the circle in order to secure the log of the divider with the very center mark of the made with a prick punch with a tapered lightly with a machine hammering when the holes are drilled with the pinch mark. Prick punch marks are enlarged with a center punch. More advanced light may use of the other tools of the angle plate with a hermaphrodite, calipers, parallel clamps, parallel spirit level, surface gauge, bench, and surface plate trammels, V-blocks. Trammels are used to lay out and measure for the circles of large to be managed with limited dividers and compass. They can be used in beams of unlimited length. Shows dividers, center punch, prick punch, scriber, rule, combination set, protractor, combination, bevel. Filing techniques. Most test files have the cut teeth with the diagonal rolls. Single cut with the teeth with the single of the diagonal rolls. Best of the hard metals, grass cut files, individual form teeth. Soft metals, the more teeth, the inch of the smooth of the cut. The files have the handle to prevent injury with the exemption of much small files need with the needles as needed, needle, air jewelry, auger bits, and ignition files. The work pieces should be clamped tightly in a vise. Rasp cut, double cut, single cut, curved tooth. As to will not vibrate in the piece of the finished surface to protect the wood of the soft vice jaw clamp caps. It's possible the workpiece should be held at an elbow level of the project, slightly above the vice falls. To begin operations, graph the handle in the right hand palm down with the left thumb lengthwise with the handle with the normal working, holding the point of the tip end of the thumb with the first two fingers. Left hand below the heavy work. Place your entire palm on the top of the file. The file should be guided in the hands of the arm of the butt, assuming with some stances of the song with either extra pressure for the full forward cutting, strong release pressure of the lift of file, free return strokes. Not move the body when removing the stroke with the rocket of file, the resulting in the round edges instead of the complete flat surface. Large and coarse files should be rough with the cutting. Finer files furnishing while filing wide of the flat surface available at start of the stroke. The left side with the file held at a 30-degree angle to move across the entire width of the work. Finish the stroke the reverse angle with the cross stroke filing right to the left, taking the result of the accuracy. Straight edge with the square of the very smooth surface is poor. Reducing draw filling with a single colored mill file with a shearing cut with made by holding a flat file. Slight angle with one hand on each side of the quite near the work. As the drawn back and forth with the cross filing marks will be removed. The flat file may be used to draw filing in a flat surface. The outside curves be it, but a round of a half file may be used on inside curves. Keep flat and file free of the chips and filing or the picks and pinches, the scratch of the work. Go over the file frequently with a wire brush, file card, remove picks pointed from the wire or small than pieces of sheet metal, rubbing chalk on the first file's teeth before using that helps to keep the clean. Avoid tapping files on metal masonry surfaces to keep them clean. Filing techniques. Finishing metals. If desirable polished metal with a highly finished, remove all traces of the surface. The regulated work should be filed smoothly finishes and an abrasive cloth with light emery paper using power bevels wheel unit be handled. Abrasives may be the natural emery with the artificial one, such as the silicon carbide or aluminum oxide. Initial polishing selected for the grade of the coarse enough to have an effect with the metal surface. The progressive finer grades remove the marks made on the preceding abrasive. The continuing changing abrasive running until the reach of the finest grade of the cloth with the desired degree of polish. Finish hard and tear strips with a sheet abrasive wide enough to cover the solid backing, such as the file with the front. Fold one end over the end of the file, then move the file back and forth across the work with each of the change of the file and abrasive shift of the direction, polishing the right angle of the direction of the file, polishing the preceded, polishing a large flat surface to cover a sanding block with an abrasive cloth. Chisels. Cold chisels are forged with tool steel used for the cut and chip metal. Principal type of flat cold chisels, cutting and shearing the metal with the cutting of the bar and rivet. Cape chisel should be narrow groove with the keyways and the pullways and shaft. The diamond point with the cleaning out sharp corners with the cutting of the V-shaped groove with the round nose for cutting the groove with the moving improper started drill holes. Cutting metal tools and methods. The hacksaw with the tool often used for the cutting of the metal. It may be either fixed or adjustable. The 8 to 12 inch frame of the pistol grip of the straight with the handle blades are available. The 8 and 10 and 12 inch length with the stand with the on the wavy style seat to salty. The 8 to 12, 24 and 32 inch blades on which when the teeth are hardened and sometimes called unbreakable or flexible hacksaw may be possible to cut any of the four directions down, up, right, and left, depending on how the blade is mounted on the frame. Regardless of how the blade is mounted, the teeth should be point away from the handles over the cut on with a forward stroke with the keyholes, hacksaws. So they come in a replaceable blade as are useful for making the inside cut with the blind holes to other hard to reach places of the handle by using a loose blade to be taped and wrapped around at one end of the protection. A rule for blade section of the two or more of the teeth that must always come into contact with the surface of being saw. This means the thin metal of the tubing requires the fine blade, but it's not possible to apply for these rules. For example, the cutting very thin metal place of the metal may be to use clamp boards. Both the wood and metal is solved at the same time when the metal kept from the bending and the tearing. Pierce work. And thin metals may be cut out by hand with a metal cutting blade. The jewelry saw and scroll with a jigsaw blades are also made for the cutting metal with a portable saber saw. Rounding holes may be cut in the sheet metal within either a hole saw, circular, or a flat cutter. Using these carefully may be dangerous. A circular or a flat cutter is similar to the hole saw, except that the hole is cut with a tool similar to the lathe bit with the curve of the rod that can be adjusted to cut holes up to 8 inches in diameter. Sheet metal 20 gauge or lighter may also be cut with 10 snips. 10 snips should never be used to cut nails. Wire hardened steel with a commonly used straightened pattern stem range from the length of 18 to 15 inches, while cutting edges are 2 to 5 inches long. Snips in the type will follow a straight or curved line will cut the maximum efficiency open as far as possible. Most accurate work can be done on curves when scrap metal is removed with 1/4 inch of the layout before a final cut is made. Types of the drill. The twist drill with a cutting hole of the metal with made with the carbon high-speed steel with the M is 3 principal shank in the body with the 2 spiral-like groove then called flutes and the cone-shaped cutting called the end point. Flutes acts as a channel with the escape of the metal with the tip of the holes with the been drilled with the permit with the lubrication travels down with the cutting edges at the point cutting lips. Most drills of the ground do equal with the length of the angle of the 59 degree with the tripping lip of the necessary with the leading and the lip of the cut into the metal with the sharpening necessary the advisable. Use drill grinding attachment page 41 rather than attempting with the drill sharpen the freehand. Countersink is a tool that uses a large bevel with the end of the drill hole so that the flat end of the riveted bolt of the screw and insert the head will be flush with the surface of the work, though not strictly drills bearing reamer and to remove burrs from the cutting pipe with the taper reamer to increase the size of the holes are handy to have. So its principal part with a twist drill with a straight shank drill for use of carpenter brace, taper shank drill, countersink, burring reamers, grinding the cutting lips, taper reamer. How to drill accurately with a small indentation on the guide of the drill should be made with a center punch to the exact location of the hole. The marked proof of the knot to be correctly located, but it cannot be moved with the slanting of the punch. This should be relocated with the exact point of the training of the punch with enlarging the mark. Work should be secured with a vise or clamp with a rotating drill with a place over the center mark and punch mark with a slightly cone-shaped cut made in C with the holes is on the center. If the drilling can be completed with the ease up of the drilling pressure just before the drill breaks through the work, this will keep the bit from grabbing or jamming. Using a light lubricating oil of the drill bit while the drilling through the wrought iron, steel, aluminum, and then using kerosene, turpentine, cast iron, copper, brass, bronze, it may be drilled dry. Feed and speed that are essential for the drilling. Metal with the feed should be constantly faster for the drilling. With the cut, the metal speed must be varied with the material of the size of the drill. With the general rule, with the larger the drill, the slower the speed, the smaller the drill, the faster the speed. Taps, cutting internal threads. The tool with the cutting thread inside of the hole is called the tap. Taps are made with a round bar hardened with a steel ground square on one end of the thread for the part with the length of the other on the thread with the portion of several parallel with the grooves and flutes over the one edge of the forming and the cutting edge. Taps are used only within three types of tapper, plug, and bottom. Approximately first and second, sixth thread tapered taps are tapered easy starting and with the plug tap. With the one most commonly used with the first three or the four tapped with the tapered bottom tapping used in the cut. Full threads at the bottom of the hole of the tap side of the outside diameter. Number of the threads per inch is stamped on the shank. Two internal threads drill a hole slightly smaller of the tap's outside diameter. For drill size, see table below. Secure the work in the hole vertically or horizontally, whichever is most convenient. Whether the hole is drilled completely through, the partially through is closed. Blinding hole, insert the tap and check with the square with the work surface of the tap is large. Use a wrench and turn it. Small taps are turned with a special tap wrench. Slightly downward pressure needs at the start of the thread be released once the tap threads begin with a bite. Lubricate with the work and light wheel oil. Reverse the tap every 2 to 3 turns the clear metal, the shaving, and continue threading in and out of the hole until the tap turns smoothly and with little pressure. When threading in the blind hole with a taper tap until the touch of the bottom, then change to a plug and complete the thread with a bottom looming tap. Alright, cutting external threads. Die cutting is the term described with the method for the cutting of the thread around the outside of the piece of the metal, such as the long bolt, pipe, to rod. This is done by hand with a minor similar with a procedure file for the cutting an internal thread with a tab by using the case and the die. Threading in the die is blocked at every hard steel with a round square hexagonal shape with the internal threads with the provided flutes for the form and the cutting of the edge of the threads are ground way slight on one side of the marking, starting easier. Most useful to die for the homeowner are those with the cut of the threads with the stocking measure with 3/16, 1/4 inch, 5/16, 3/8 of an inch, and 1/2 inch. The die you select depends on the thread to be cut with the number of kinds of the fine or quarts of the threads per inch of the diameter to be threaded with the view of the die on the first grind with a slight bevel on the edge of the pipe of the rod with the thread. Then clamp the work on a vise vertical to the horizontally beveled end up the facet of the die with the die stock with the holder of the place and square over the end of the work. Applying downward pressure with the turn of the stock slowly to the right until the threads catch. After the 3 or 4 of the threads have been cut with the remove of the die stock with the check to be sure that the threads are perfectly formed. Die is cutting square. Keep the threads mostly in oil and continue with the threading. Once the thread has been started, the downward pressure will no longer need. The die will continue cutting on its own. Back off after each half turn to release the metal chips. Riveting. Type of the rivets. One most used of the overlooked items of the home workshop is for the riveted bolt-like fastening with the joints. The piece is firm simply with a quickly and inexpensive the primary piece of the metal, but plastic, wood, and canvas of leathers as well. And form or riveted is a soft metal pin with a head and a shank that is short of the bolt without heads. A short bolt without threads. It may be to be any of the number of the metals such as iron, brass, copper, and aluminum. The majority of the rivets solid must be some made with a special printed main, hollow or tubular. Those of the thin metal with the soft material, the reinforced with washer type of device of the blower that is placed over the rivet before the head is formed. Large rivets of this kind use the boiler structure of the other heavy work must be heated with the point with the new head of the form while the melting is hot. Such rivets are shrink with it as they cool with the forming an even tighter joint. Rivet size classification include both the diameter and the length on rivets designed so to be set on the countersunk hole with the length of the measurement include the head. Whether the size of the kind of the rivet to be used in should extend 1.5 times the riveted diameter beyond the piece of the riveted formation of the head. If is too long, it should be cut shorter. Pop riveted device known as the popped blind riveter will install with a set with the riveter to use the tool with the support of the work. Riveters are made of aluminum, copper, and metal with a shield available for this device. Each rivet has a pin and mandrel, which is automatically broken off with the removal and discarded after the rivet has been set. The stem of the rivet inserted with the tool in place through the hole as the tool is squeezed. Mandrel draws the concealed of the riveted back and expands completely to fill the hole and breaks off as soon as the head is formed. Alright, using a rivet set. A rivet set is short length hardened steel with a shield one end of the cup of the face contained with a hollow with a cup is brushing you to form the head of the pop of the point of the rivet. Also face of the bottom is with a deep hole. The hole is placed over the rivet shank. The rivet is struck with a hammer that serves to flatten the metal around the right rivet and draw them work together. The rivet set for the many sizes to fit with the rivet of different diameters and punch. You can put out the end of the rivet too longer in order to match it with the job in hand. How to install a rivet. Mark the position of the rivet at the center punch of the drill of the hole with a slightly larger, then select the rivet with the bolt of the metal piece with the joint of the plate for the rivet on the hole. Fit the rivet to set over the project. At the end of the rivet, strike with a hammer and take the piece of the rivet will be then tight against each other. Remove the rivet set. First set, strike the protruding part of the rivet, spread the rivet inside of the hole, thereby securing the joint. Using a slanting blow with a hammer to roughly shape the riveted head to dome-like configuration, the round head end of the ball-peen hammer figure, page 14, does the shaping job best. Finally, give the riveted cap with the face of the give the rivet a round, smooth surface. Keep the original head of the other flat head countersunk riveted being flat and being either with the riveting back or second riveted such that with a backing tool, a piece of steel with a small hollow drill can be used to satisfactorily substitute for the rivet block. Soldering techniques. Easiest way to join metal wire with the known with the use of the correct procedure. The first step of the soldering tin solder iron with a gun with the first cleaning the copper tip of the seal bowl unit until it is bright. Next, plug with the iron and wait until it gets hot. Then melt the sum of the solder on the tip of the tip. Will turn the silver into tinning. An iron that may be properly cleaned and tinned will produce the poorly soldered joint. This workspace or the work surface are you going to solder would also be clean with for this use the coarse steel wool being sure that not to touch the clean surface with bare fingers. Strip the oil with the fingers can be kept with the solder for the sticking. Next, apply 6 of the metal surface to join with the flux part prevent oxidation metal surface which would keep the metals from fusing. You can apply flux for the fingers of the brush. Properly soldered joints can be achieved with the iron or the hottest the tip of the iron surface of the work to be soldered. It's important to understand that you apply the solder when working face. When the work surface is not on the iron and hot enough to melt the solder, this is when the temperature has been reached. Solder will flow around over the clean and flux surface, but the solder does not adhere the surface. The work has not been properly cleaned or fluxed. If you're smart at soldering small joints, such as 2 wires together, wires and electrical thermits, you can save the time and effectively use the resin cord, flux core solder. The solder wiring has a core rosin acting as flux during the solder, and solder comes both wire and bar form. You must likely use the bar type when doing large soldering jobs, such as sheet metal work. Soldering, hard soldering, and welding. Hard soldering, either steel, silver, gold, bronze, makes them neater, stronger, the more permanently joint for the soft the solder of the torch. You need to supply with the heat, high heat required for the hardening. Soldering a propane torch most convenient for the Bunsen burner with blowpipe. Blowpipe can be used. First step of the hard soldering is to clean the area with a piece of the air to be joined. For use of file, eminent cloth, wire brush, clean process, position, apply flux to the joint, then recommended solder. Heat the metal with the flux and solder, insert the sheets of the solder into the joints, keep the joint, and continue to apply solder until the crevices are filled. Use the solder when the color is matched metals being joined. For example, when joining silver, use the silver solder alloys, 8 parts silver, 3 parts copper, 1 part zinc. For gold, proper solder is an alloy silver, copper, and gold. If you're doing a large job, don't have sulfur, sufficient flux substitute can be made with a powdered borax mixed with water consistently. Cream melted flux leaves a brownish residue that can be removed with a solder joint and submerged in a solution. 1 part sulfuric acid, 2 parts water. Let work soak. This is for about 30 minutes. Always add acid, never water to acid. Always add acid to water, never add water to acid. When diluting sulfuric acid, wear rubber gloves as protective gloves when you do it. Flux residue can sometimes be removed by boiling water, allowing the joint soaked with it before it cools. Welding is a method of the joining metals melting them together. Extremely high heat required may be attained by electricity, arc welding, or gas oxyacetylene welding. Welding is the economical way to join metals is impossible and practical to use conventional fasteners such as bolts and rivets. For example, the repair of a cracked furnace door, a broken railing, or garden or farm equipment. In so much, welding equipment is comparatively expensive technical building skill of the average home. It is much more practical and cheaper to take the work of a local commercial welder. Oxy pellet welders for sale for about $30 available. In most cases, adequate. The less expensive welding outfit will do you large size jobs, which cost about $125. Welding goggles must be worn in all types of welding. Sweating is a form of soldering in which soldering alone holds the piece of metal together. The areas are to be joined clean with the surface made as smooth as possible. They can be brought into close with the contact flux coated with the solder tin assembled and chain clamped if possible, heated until the solder remelts and unites. The joints must be held with the position until solder cools. Additional solder in form of the filling may be along the joint edge of greater strong waterproofing and proper appearance. Sheet metal, aluminum, brass, and galvanized iron, tin plate, zinc that has up to 3/16 of an inch thickness, referred to as sheet metal. Thickness sheets are called plate. Also in the group of the perforated shield sheets, welded wire mesh to be used for the decorative effects of the window guards, pet gauge, similar structures. Few tools needed to work sheet metal specialized. You can use homemade forms, jigs, or layout, cut, bend, or hammer assembly sheet metal projects. Bending sheet metal can be bent by hand in a home shop. Anything that gives it a solid support on both sides of the entire length. Support long bending. The use of either single layer or combination made of a bench or top, a pair of angle irons, or a thick hardboard clamp and vise. Hand screw vise may be sufficient to support the short bend. There will be less surface damage if the rubber rawhide mallet strike the mallet. You can make satisfactory substitute by covering the face of the regular hammer with a piece of rubber. Forming curves, malleable metals are soft aluminum, brass, copper, lead. The zinc can be formed with the mallet over the hard wood, made exactly the size and shape needed. The forms have been made slightly underside of the hard metals, edges aluminum, galvanized iron, tin plate, as they tend to spring back when the pressure is removed. Annealing, bending, hammering, hardening, stiffening meat to the point with a re-softened the form and flexibility is accomplished. Annealing, processing, heating metal to the critical point, recognizing the color change, then coloring it in copper and brass. For example, it should be heated to with a dull red until the rainbow colors. Plunge and heated metal into the water and set aside with the cool. After cooling, it will again be original softness and pliability. To soften and reduce brittleness and hardness, steel hit it critically and it will not longer attract a magnet. Then let it cool slowly. Annealing accomplish soft metals during the heating and the hard metals during cooling. You'll probably never have to anneal hardened steel, but all soft metals should be annealed after frequent bending. Annealing is important when working is to be machined and is given a metal or a fine grain. Reinforcing the lip. Sheet metal can be easily reinforced by adding a lip seam of the rolled edge end of the sheet, but not only do this technically severe to reinforce the metal, but it also acts as a sort of safeguard for the raw edge of the sheet metal. Quickly sharpen can inflict a nasty cut for throwing drawing of the right of the proper technique with the reinforced lip of the sheet metal. Small sheet of the reinforced with the home work sheet. Large sheet of the best formed out with the commercial steel shops, in which they have the machine for making special bend seams and lips, and incidentally. Alright, not only does the technique serve the reinforcement metal, but it also has safeguard the raw edge of the sheet metal with a quick sharp that can inflict with a nasty cut with the drawings ready for the proper technique to make the reinforcement lip on the sheet metal. Small sheets can be reinforced at home workshop. Large sheets are best farmed out on the commercial sheet metal shop, with which have the machines for making special bend seams and lips. Incidentally, if you're planning to any sheet metal work, bear in mind that sheet metal comes in standard widths of 2 feet with lengths of 8 feet long. Sheet metals are available in commercial galvanized steel and tin plate, black and annealed iron, aluminum, copper, brass, nickel, silver. When handling sheet metals, particularly large sheets, wear gloves and protect your hands from being cut. Fold and groove seams. Folded seam that's made with simply hooking two single hems together because the edges are only bent with a seam that is not flushing, thus does not apparently easy. The groove seam is made for the forming hooking two single hems of the folded seam when hammering them flat. The alternative way is to use a hand groover. It's placed over the seam and is struck with a hammer. The first locks at each end the entire seam, making it flush. Soldering it makes the seam waterproof. To make a box out of sheet metal, make a wood form, bend the sheet metal around it. Repairing minor dent. Slight dent in thick metal is very easily to repair. Build a bit of the surface of the filler, then grind with a file. Level the bad dent. Sketch scratches thin metal animated shrunk back to before filling. Smoothing. If domed on the dent and the thin metal accessible, you can push it back by hand. Hammer with a metal back to the shape against the sandbag. Wooden hide mallet. Minimize surface damage. If narrow neck prevents you from reaching dome part, try inserting wood stake, pressing it against the dent, and then sometimes hammering, tapping, causing the stake to vibrate, act as an internal hammer. Repairing holes by epoxy, using metal repair to fill such holes. Rusted the area of the car's kits consist of fiberglass screening, 2 parts epoxy mix. Make the repairs first, sanding down the bare metal. Fit a piece of the green over the hole. Use the epoxy mix to build up the rusted area of the hole. Let the patch dry for about 30 minutes, then sand it flush for the metal surface. Finish smoothing process. Final hand sanding. Make sure the filler is completely cured before starting the finish process. Repairing large dents. Repair dents and thick material that necessary to fill the entire cavity. Epoxy mix for the metal repair kit. First drill a series of small anchor holes the metal. Fill the depression slightly above the surface with the compound. Apply pressure with the U. When you are filing the dents over the mix of the penetrate drilled holes, the application drive through the mix will be anchored in the holes. The deep dent in the metal sometimes be pulled for at least made shallower by inserting sheet metal screws, spanning the opening with a block of hardwood and pulling the screws in slowly, steadily with a claw hammer. Strap metal introduction. Light, soft strap metal heads such as aluminum, Duralap, Duralonium, brass, copper, milled, steel, wrought iron, up to 1/4 inch thick, may be bent and cold without risking fracture, serious impairing of the strength. Mild steel of duraluminum will offer greater resistance of the other metals mentioned. When metal is bent cold, it will stretch out outside of the same time compressed on the inside, causing the distortion area of the bend. This is a great problem when thick with the metal than it's thin. And when metal is bent hot, the forged distortion will be as great as easily corrected. This is done by letting the corner of the bend equal 1/2 the thickness of the melting, adding this to the length and inside of the compressed the metal put somewhere when it becomes wider with the point, often the outside of the half becomes the concave as well. Since all metal is still there, the distortion can be corrected by laying the bend on the side and any anvil, hammer and back to the original shape, reheating it while white hot is necessary. Average home handyman isn't likely to have the access to torch, forge, heat, and metal at this point. The gas ring and the ordinary kitchen ring range will serve the purpose, especially for the small pieces you can use as a blowtorch. To obtain complete sharp angle with a heavier mild steel, wrought iron, some of the harder aluminum alloys, you will need to heat the area of the bend with a torch. For this kind of sharp bending, wrought iron should be brought with a white heat. If possible, stuck within yellow is liable to split rather than bend. Some of the non-ferrous metals may have an end yield if they hardly initially have been hardened while being worked. If any difficulty is encountered bending, it should be done in stages. When heating and cooling is annealing process performed between stages. Strap metal can be twisted, shaped, and making light fixtures, scones, decorative basket brackets. Clamp one end of the vise using a monkey wrench at the left of the other, and twisting. Twisting can be left-handed, right-handed twisting, depending on which way you turn the wrench. Twisting shrinks the metal considerably. Some adequate allowance of this before starting. Tube and bar metal. Working with a tube, working with a plumbing, heating, and oil feed lines, continuity, chair frames. Homeowner often needs of the tubing, general aluminum, brass, copper, and steel. The order tubing usually needed to know outside diameter, thickness of the wall. Tubing is bent outside stretches inside contractor's zone. Unless handled properly, it can be break flat, and previously with a pack of the tube with sand seals at the end. Seals at the end. The bend gradually the easiest and safest way to use the electricity hickey when the bending jig and a coil spring before bending the thick wall tubing and heat of the bended area are softened. Working with metal bar. with bar metal. Metals such as aluminum, brass, and bronze, copper, various steel bar metals are with a wide variety of sizes and shape: the round, square, flat, hexagonal, octagonal, and lengths of 20 feet. Techniques of drawing, cutting, and threading, and adjoining and finishing described in preceding pages apply with the bar metal. Bar metal is too large to be bent cold. It must be heated and forged to be the desired size shape. Bar metal is a half-inch thick. Half-inch square sections can easily be cut into short length with a burglar-proof basement. Windows, drilling holes at each end of the one-way screws fasten the bars of the framework over the window 5-inch intervals instead of one-way screws giving you the ordinary screw. Grind down the screws also, but the screw cannot be removed. Scrap iron of 1/8 of an inch thick and 1 inch wide is handy metal to have around reinforced garage doors, shelving, because scrap iron lightweight short sections if it can be bent and vise without heat. This can be done by hand when the radius is fairly large. Section 13, glass, ceramics, and plastics.